He had $12 billion, and he hadn't thought about her in 17 years. He told himself that was fine. He told himself he had moved on. He told himself that what happened was a long time ago, and that some things were better left behind. He was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning when he stopped at a street stall to buy bread. The girl selling it couldn't have been more than 17. Dark hair, quiet eyes, hands that worked without complaining. He gave her the money. She gave him the bread, and when she reached out, he saw it. On her right hand, a small gold ring with a blue stone and 3 letters engraved inside. Letters he had put there himself. 17 years ago, the bread fell from his hands, and for the first time in 17 years, the billionaire broke down on a street corner, in front of everyone. The store was on the corner of Brennan Street and 5th, one of 12 that appeared every Tuesday and Thursday morning, selling bread and pastries and fruit from wooden carts that had been in the same spot for longer than the city's newest buildings. Richard Calloway did not usually walk this street. He had a driver. He had a schedule. He had 17 floors of a building 3 blocks north where the day began at 8 and ended when the work was done, which was rarely before 9 in the evening. He walked Brennan Street on this particular Tuesday because his driver had called with a delay, and because the morning was clear, and because he had been sitting in boardrooms for 11 consecutive days, and his body had simply decided, without consulting him, that it needed air. He was 51 years old. He had built Calloway Capital from a single office and to employees into a firm that managed assets across the continents. He had been on the covers of 3 magazines. He had been described, in a profile that still occasionally surfaced online, as a man who never looked back. The profile was not wrong. He did not look back. He had learned, in the years after Anna, that looking back was a luxury that cost more than it returned, and he had made his peace with that the way a man makes peace with a scar, not by forgetting it, but by learning to live in a body that carries it without announcing it. He stopped at the bread stall because the smell reached him from half a block away. Real bread. The kind that reminded him of something he had decided not to think about. The girl behind the stall was young. "17, maybe 18. Dark hair pulled back under a practical cap, a flour-dusted apron over simple clothes. She was serving a customer when he arrived, and she did it with the quiet efficiency of someone who had been doing this long enough that it required no conscious effort. Change counted correctly. Bread wrapped without being asked. A brief nod of acknowledgement. He waited. She turned to him. "What can I get you?" Her voice was low and calm. Her eyes were. He registered something without knowing what, a familiarity he couldn't place. The particular quality of a face that reminded you of something you couldn't name. The Sordo, he said. She reached for it, and that was when he saw it. Her right hand. The movement of reaching. The morning light catching something on her finger. A ring small gold. A blue stone, pale blue, almost gray, the color of early morning sky. And on the inside of the band, because he knew it was there before he could possibly have seen it from this distance. 3 letters, AMCANN Amory Calloway, the name she had taken when he had given her the ring, the name she had kept. He had heard years later through someone who knew someone, even after he left, even after he chose the company over her. Even after he did the thing he had spent 17 years not looking back at. The bread fell from his hands. He didn't notice. He was looking at the ring on the finger of a girl he had never seen before. A girl with Anna's dark hair, and Anna's quiet eyes, and Anna's way of holding herself. That said, I don't need anything from you without being unkind about it, sir, the girl said. Are you all right? He was not all right. He was standing on the corner of Brennan Street with $12 billion. And 17 years of careful not looking back and a ring on a stranger's finger. That had undone all of it in under 3 seconds. That ring, he said. His voice came out wrong. Too quiet, stripped of the register he used for everything. Where did you get that ring? The girl looked at her hand, then at him. The assessment was quick and complete. The particular wariness of a young woman, being asked a personal question by a stranger. It was my mother's, she said. He looked at her. Your mother, he said. She passed away, the girl said. 2 years ago. She said it plainly, without performing the grief. The way people say things they have said many times and have learned to carry correctly. She left it to me. Richard Calloway stood on the street corner in the Tuesday morning light. What was her name? He said. The girl looked at him for a long moment. Why? She said. And he understood. In the way you understand things that arrive fully formed rather than being constructed piece by piece, that she already knew something. That the question of why was not a deflection, but a test. The test of a girl who had been told something, or had guessed something, or had wondered something for long enough that the wondering had become its own kind of knowledge. Because, he said, and his voice broke on the word, which had not happened to him in 17 years. I think I knew her. The girl looked at him. The street moved around them, ordinary, indifferent, knowing nothing. Her name, the girl said carefully, was Anna. The bread stalls did not invite him to sit down. There was nowhere to sit. It was a street stall, a wooden cart, a Tuesday morning. She finished serving the next customer with the same quiet efficiency as before, which he observed from 3 feet away with the particular disorientation of a man whose entire architecture has shifted without warning. She knew how to do this, hold two things at once, the ordinary work and the extraordinary moment, without letting either collapse. Anna taught her that, he thought, and the thought arrived with a pain he had no prepared place for. When the customer left, she turned back to him. "You knew my mother," she said. Not a question. "Yes," he said. "How?" He looked at the ring on her finger, at the 3 letters. At the morning light on the gold band that he had chosen in a jeweler's shop, on a rainy afternoon in November, 20 years ago, when he had been 31 and in love and completely certain that he understood what mattered. "We were together," he said. A long time ago, the girl, he did not know her name yet, he realized, which felt suddenly important, looked at him with the expression of someone who has been carrying a question for a long time and is now watching the answer arrive. "How long ago?" she said. 17 years, he said. 18. She was quiet. "I'm 17, she said. The street kept moving. A bus went past. Someone laughed somewhere to the left. The world continued doing what it always did, indifferent to the specific weight of what was happening on this corner. "What's your name?" he said. She looked at him for a long moment, measuring, deciding, the same way Anna used to look at things before she committed to them. "Clara," she said. "Clara," he repeated. "She never told me your name," Clara said. "She told me about you." "Not your name. What did she tell you?" Clara reached under the counter of the stall and produced a cloth to wipe her hands, a practical gesture, the action of someone buying time to decide how honest to be. "She told me," Clara said, "that she had loved someone completely, and that he had chosen something else." She looked at him directly. She didn't say it with anger. She just said it like it was true. He said nothing. She also said, Clara continued, that she didn't regret it. "Because she got me." The last word landed with a weight that had nothing to do with its size. "She raised you alone," he said. Single quotes, "Yes." "Was she?" He stopped, started again. "Did she have a good life?" Clara looked at him for a long moment. "She had a real one," she said. That's what she used to say. She said she had a real life. What he did next came back the next Thursday. He had not planned to, or had planned to in the way you plan things you have already decided. Without admitting the decision, he arrived at 8, before the stall was fully set up, and he helped Clara lift the wooden boards into place without asking if he could, which she observed and did not comment on. He bought bread again. He came back the Thursday after that, and the one after that. He did not announce himself. He did not arrive with lawyers or documents or the particular machinery of a wealthy man, asserting a claim. He arrived with the particular humility of someone who understood. In a way, he had not understood anything in a long time, that he had no claim, that whatever existed here was not his by right. It was his to earn, if it could be earned at all. Clara watched him the way she watched everything, completely, without performing the watching. She served her customers. She ran her store. She counted her change correctly and wrapped bread without being asked, and nodded the brief nod of acknowledgement that was. He was beginning to understand her version of warmth, not withheld, just measured. On the fourth Thursday, he asked, "The store, is it yours?" "I rent the permit," she said. "I've been doing this since I was 14. My mother taught me." "You've been working since you were 14. Someone had to," she said, not bitterly. Just accurately. "Where do you live?" She looked at him. "Why?" "Because I want to know," he said. "That's not an answer," she said. "No," he said. "It isn't." He paused. "I want to know because I've been standing at this stall for weeks, and I know you take your change in your left hand, and you always give people slightly more than they paid for, and you check the weather before you set up the awning, and I don't know where you sleep at night." She looked at him for a long time. "I have a room," she said. "It's small. It's fine. Are you in school?" "I finished school," she said. "I wanted to study." There wasn't money. He looked at his hands. "I have money," he said. "I know," she said. "I looked you up. After the first day." A pause. $12 billion. "Clara, I don't want your money," she said. Not harshly, with the same plain accuracy she brought to everything. "I want." She stopped, looked at the ring on her finger. "I don't know what I want yet. I'm still deciding." "That's fair," he said. "It is," she said. "Come back Thursday." She showed him the photograph on the sixth Thursday. A small photo, kept in the pocket of her apron, worn at the edges, the way photographs get when they've been handled often. Anna at perhaps 25, laughing at something off camera, dark hair loose, the ring visible on her right hand. He held it for a long time. She was happy here, Clara said. In this city, she built something real. She always could, he said. Build things. You left when she was pregnant, Clara said. She never told me that directly, but I worked it out. He looked at the photograph. I didn't know she was pregnant, he said. I want to be clear about that. I left before. I didn't know. Would it have changed things? The question was not accusatory. It was the genuine question of a 17-year-old trying to understand the architecture of her own existence. He thought about it honestly. I don't know, he said. I'd like to say yes. I was 31, and I was afraid, and I chose the wrong thing. Whether knowing would have changed that, he stopped. I hope it would have. I can't know. Clara nodded slowly. She forgave you, Clara said. She told me that. Not about you specifically. She never said your name. But she said she had forgiven the person who left. She said it made her lighter. He looked at the photograph. She was better than I deserved, he said. Yes, Clara said. She was. A pause. But she also would have said that people are more than the worst thing they ever did. He looked at Clara. Did she say that often? Every time I was angry at someone, Clara said. It was annoying. She was usually right. Something happened in his chest. Not quite a laugh. Not quite a cry. Something in between that had been waiting a long time. She was always right, he said. I know, Clara said. It was exhausting. What he offered in the 8th Thursday, he came with a folder. Not lawyers, just a folder. Papers inside that he had prepared himself, which had taken him longer than any acquisition in 12 years, because none of those had required him to be this careful. He set it on the counter of the stall. Clara looked at it. What is this? A university application, he said. For next September. The course you told me about, environmental science. The university you said you'd wanted to go to. She looked at the folder. I told you I don't want. I know, he said. Read the cover page. She opened it. The cover page was not a check. It was not a trust fund document or a legal instrument. It was a letter, handwritten, to pages, the handwriting of a man who had written very few personal letters in 17 years and had drafted this one for times. She read it. He waited. It said, I am not asking you to forgive me. I am not asking you to call me anything. I am not asking for anything at all. I am offering, if you will accept it, to pay for an education that should have been easier to access than it has been, not because I have a right to give it, but because I would like, if you will allow it, to do one thing correctly. You don't owe me a relationship. You don't owe me forgiveness. You don't owe me anything. But if you ever want to talk about her, about anything, I will be at the stall on Thursday mornings. I will always be at the stall on Thursday mornings. Clara read it twice. She set it down. She looked at him for a long time with Anna's eyes, dark and steady and completely honest. She kept the ring, Clara said finally. All those years, she could have taken it off. She kept it. I know, he said. I think, Clara said slowly, that means she didn't hate you. No, he said. She wasn't capable of hate. It wasn't in her. Asterisk it s not in me either, Clara said. I tried. When I was younger, after she died, I was angry at you, at the idea of you, for a while. She looked at the ring. But I'm not angry now. What are you? She considered the question with the seriousness it deserved. Curious, she said, mostly. About what? About whether, she said carefully, you're the kind of person who shows up. Not just on Thursdays. but in general. She looked at him. My mother deserved someone who showed up. I'd like to know if you became that person. Eventually, he held her gaze. I'm trying to be, he said. That's honest, she said. It's all I have, he said. She looked at the folder on the counter. Environmental science, she said. You mentioned it on the third Thursday, he said. You said your mother used to take you to the river. That you wanted to understand how water systems worked. Clara was quiet. She took me every Sunday, she said, until she got ill. I know, he said. You told me. She looked at him, at the man who had shown up 8 Thursdays in a row with bread money and no agenda, who had listened to everything she said and remembered all of it, who had written a 2-page letter by hand when he could have sent a lawyer. Come back next Thursday, she said. I will, he said. I'll have an answer, she said. Take the time you need, he said. She accepted the university offer. She told him on a Thursday morning, the same as everything else, over the counter of the bread stall with flour on her hands and the ring on her finger, catching the morning light. I have conditions, she said. Tell me, he said. I keep the stall on Thursdays, she said, for as long as I want to. Of course, I don't call you anything I don't mean, she said. Not father. Not anything. Not until, if it feels true. Understood. And you come to Thursdays, she said. Not because you're paying for things. Because you want to. He looked at her. Clara, he said. I have been coming to Thursdays since the second week because I cannot think of anywhere I would rather be at 8 in the morning than this street corner. He paused. That has nothing to do with the university. She looked at him for a long moment. She would have liked that answer, she said. Would she? She liked honest things, Clara said. She had no patience for performance. I remember, he said. You should, she said. She was remarkable. She was, he said, the most remarkable person I have ever known. He paused. Present company developing a strong case. Clara almost smiled. Almost. Next Thursday, she said. Bring better bread money. I'm raising my prices. He laughed. It was, he thought, the first real laugh in a very long time. Not the professional laugh, not the social laugh, but the kind that arrives without planning and leaves you slightly surprised at yourself. Noted, he said Sundays 3 months later. He asked if he could come on Sundays. Not to the stall. She didn't work Sundays. He asked if he could take her to the river. Why the river? She said. Because your mother took you every Sunday, he said. And because you said you wanted to understand how water systems worked. And because he stopped. Because I would like to see the place she showed you. Clara was quiet for a moment. She had a favorite spot, she said. Under the old bridge. She said the light was best there in the morning. Will you show me? She looked at him. Sunday, she said. 8 o'clock. They went to the river. She showed him the spot under the old bridge where the light came through the arches. In long pale lines across the water, they stood there for a while without speaking, which was, he had learned over 3 months of Thursdays, one of Clara's ways of being comfortable. She did not fill silence with noise. She let it be what it was. She used to tell me the names of the birds, Clara said. She knew all of them. She always knew things like that, he said. She used to know the names of every plant in any garden she walked through. She taught me some, Clara said. I've forgotten most of them. I remember a few, he said. If you want. She looked at him. You remember the plants she taught you, she said. I remember everything she taught me, he said. I just spent 17 years not thinking about it. Clara looked at the water. She would find that both sad and typical, she said. She would be right, he said. They stood under the bridge while the river moved, and the birds whose names Clara had half forgotten flew overhead, and the morning light did what Anna had known it would do, came through the arches, in long pale lines, and made the ordinary world briefly beautiful. Richard, Clara said. It was the first time she had used his name. He did not react, or tried not to. He kept his eyes on the water, and let it be what it was. Yes, he said. She would be glad you came back, Clara said. Not for her. She didn't need that. But she paused. She always said that the saddest thing about people who run away is that they miss the best parts. He was quiet. I have, he said, missed the best parts. Some of them, Clara said. Not all. He looked at her. Not all. He agreed. The river moved. The light held. And under the old bridge on a Sunday morning, a billionaire who had spent 17 years not looking back stood with the daughter he had never known and looked at the water his lost love had shown her and understood, with the particular clarity of things that arrive too late and still manage to matter, that some things could not be undone, and that some things, despite everything, could still be built. She gave it to him on a Thursday in December. Not permanently, she was clear about that. She took it off her finger and held it out across the counter of the bread stall with the flour on her hands and the winter morning light on the gold band. I want you to read what's inside, she said. She had something added. After you left, he took the ring. He held it to the light. Inside the band, next to his original engraving, AMC, there was a second inscription, smaller, added later. She was enough. He read it twice. He understood it immediately, the way you understand things that were meant for you, even when they were written for someone else. Anna, alone, raising a daughter, keeping a ring, deciding at some point to add 3 words that were addressed to herself, not to him. A reminder, a declaration, a truth she had chosen to carry on her finger every day. She was enough. He stood at the bread stall in December with the ring in his hand and the winter light on his face, and 17 years of looking away at the back of his throat. She was, he said. His voice was barely there. She was more than enough. I know, Clara said. I'm sorry, he said, for leaving, for not, for all of it. I know it doesn't fix anything, Clara said. No. She held out her hand for the ring. He gave it back. She put it on. But she forgave you? And I'm not angry. She looked at him. That's not nothing. No, he said. It isn't. Come back Thursday, she said. I will, he said. And Richard, she said. Yes, she was happy, Clara said. I want you to know that. Whatever happened, she built a good life. She was happy. He looked at the ring on her finger. Thank you, he said, for telling me that. She would have wanted you to know, Clara said. That's why I told you. First year started university in September. He did not attend the enrollment. She had not asked him to, and he had not offered. He understood, without being told, that some moments belonged to her alone, were hers to have without witness, without the complicated addition of his presence. She texted him that evening. One line. First day. It was good. He read it 3 times. He wrote back, I'm glad. She wrote, the water systems module starts next week. He wrote, your mother would have loved that. She wrote, I know. I thought about her all day, he wrote. So did I. There was a pause. Then, Thursday. He wrote back, 8 o'clock. Bring better money, she wrote. Prices went up again. He smiled at his phone in his empty office at 9 in the evening and thought about Anna, who had been enough, and Clara, who was becoming someone he had not earned the right to know and was being given the chance to know anyway, and about the particular grace of second chances that arrived not as restoration, but as something new, not the life you lost, but a different one, built from what remained Thursday morning 2 years later, on a Thursday morning in spring. Richard Calloway arrived at the corner of Brennan Street and 5th at 5 minutes to 8. The stall was already set up. Clara was there, 19 now, taller somehow, or perhaps just more fully herself, with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent 2 years learning things she had always wanted to learn, and had discovered, in the learning, that she was exactly as capable as she had believed. She was wearing the ring. She always wore the ring. You're early, she said. I walked, he said, the long way. Why? The morning was good, he said, and I've been taking the long way more often. She looked at him. She would approve of that. I think so, he said. She handed him the sourdough, the same bread, the same stall, the same corner, where everything had started with a ring catching the morning light and 17 years of looking away ending in an instant. He paid. She counted the change correctly, As always, river on Sunday, she said. Sunday, he said. 8 o'clock. I found a new spot, she said. Further upstream. The light is different there. She would have found it first, he said. Probably, Clara said. But she would have shown me eventually. He looked at his daughter, at Anna's eyes and Anna's way of holding herself, and the ring that said she was enough, and the girl who had been built from everything Anna had been, carrying it forward into a world Anna had not stayed to see. Clara, he said. Yes, thank you, he said. For Thursdays, she looked at him for a moment, the steady, honest look that was entirely her own. She would say, Clara said, that you earned them. Did I? You're still here, she said. That's what earning looks like. She turned to serve the next customer. He stood on the corner of Brennan Street with his bread and the spring morning around him and the river waiting on Sunday and thought, for the first time in a very long time, that the long way was exactly the right way to go.